Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Metroid Prime 4 has officially been delayed by Nintendo, and this news is kind of a shock, and at the same time it's kind of not a shock, because first off, I was starting to wonder where the gameplay footage was for Metroid Prime 4 in the first place. Nintendo showed this off at E3 2 years ago, but it was just a picture of Metroid Prime 4. It wasn't like anything going on in the game, it was just the logo, and everyone was starting to wonder what was going on with the development of this game. There was a lot of controversy with who was actually working on it, who was making the game, and what direction they were going on with it. As of right now, that has all been trashed and they're starting over from scratch. JT. This is not very Nintendo-like. I mean, yes, Nintendo has canceled the progress of games in the past, but it's rare, and no pun intended. Retro Studios is the new studio that's making Metroid Prime 4, taking the reins from whoever was making it previously in Japan. There were rumors that it had something to do with Bandai Namco and Nintendo was working a partnership with them. That was not necessarily confirmed, but from all accounts local to the situation, that was who was most likely working on it. Apparently Nintendo was not happy with the development of the game, how it was coming along whatsoever. In fact, so much so that they were not showing any footage of this game at all. You would think 2 years going by since initially announcing it that Nintendo wouldn't be able to wait to show the public what the game is looking like, how it's coming along. It's something that, you know, typical game companies do as a game progresses throughout development. They want to keep people posted on how it's looking, what's going to be happening with it, getting people excited for it. None of that was happening, and initially I was looking at that all like, man, Nintendo is completely taking a different direction here on how this game is getting released. I thought the game would actually be coming out later in 2019, where it looked like this was on track for a release, and it wasn't even close to it. In fact, so much so that they said they are starting over from scratch, sending the game from whoever was working on it under Nintendo in Japan over to the United States for Retro Studios to take it over, which is great news. And according to the YouTube video, you can see the likes and dislikes. Everyone is happy about this, and that's surprising a little bit because I'm not very happy about it. Yes, ultimately I'm happy that Retro Studios is doing it, but why the hell was Retro Studios not doing this from the get-go? This could have been all avoided if they just listened to what everybody wanted from the beginning. Retro Studios created the Metroid Prime trilogy, all three incredible games made by a fantastic studio under Nintendo, but for whatever reason, Nintendo had a different studio work on it instead of Retro for this time, and it wasn't working out whatsoever. We don't know what Retro is working on right now prior to taking over Metroid Prime 4, but this is the unfortunate ripple effect from the situation of the game going to Retro. Whatever Retro was working on is definitely being put on hold for Metroid Prime 4 to start development. And when I say start, I mean start. Because this game is starting over from scratch. Anything that they created over in Japan is getting tossed. According to this official video from Nintendo themselves, they were so unhappy with the development of it that they are scrapping it and starting over. It's almost like the game was canceled and it's going to start brand new all over again. So people are happy that Retro's doing it, but the bad news is now we gotta wait a very long time until Metroid Prime 4 actually comes out. People were speculating it might be later in 2019 or maybe as late as 2020, but starting over from scratch in a modern era, big first-party AAA title is going to take at minimum 3 full years. More likely 4 to 5 years for this title to actually come out. So that hurts to hear. That means it's not coming out until at the soonest 2022. That's a long time from now. Most likely it probably won't come out until 2023 or beyond, and that's really hard news to swallow for the big Metroid fans out there. Count me as one of them. I love the Metroid series. I've been getting so hyped for Metroid Prime 4, and this was disappointing news to say the least. And yes, I appreciate Nintendo being fully transparent with this information. I think more game companies should take this approach with their customers, let them know what's going on so that we're not just speculating in circles and getting pissed. Now we know the game is not coming out for a very long time. Which, on the surface, like I said, not good news, but also at least the game is going to come out eventually, so it's something for us to look forward to. Until that magical day that Metroid Prime 4 eventually releases, hopefully Nintendo will come out with something to whet our appetites and not make the wait seem so long. I'm thinking more like a 2D Metroid game that can be developed by an internal studio by Nintendo in the meantime, or more likely, the Metroid Prime trilogy that came out on the Wii would come out onto the Nintendo Switch. Something that I kind of thought would come out after Metroid Prime 4 so that they wouldn't lose sales to it, but now because it's going to be so far away, they better damn well be putting the Metroid Prime trilogy out sooner than later so that we don't have to wait forever to play a Metroid game on the Switch, which makes perfectly good sense if you think about it, because the games are already made, it's just a matter of porting them over to the Switch, and Nintendo has shown that they're perfectly capable of porting games over to the Switch. This would just be another in the long line of games coming to the Switch first, and yes, like I said, very disappointing, but at least something for people to play in the Metroid world, in the Metroid sphere, to get them excited about Metroid Prime 4, and hell, playing through the 3 Metroid Prime games of the trilogy should take a good while if people want to complete them 100% prior to getting to Metroid Prime 4, assuming they haven't played them previously. And even if people have played them, come on, you know you're going to want to play them again anyways, don't lie. I can appreciate this move by Nintendo because, for the simple fact of, I didn't really enjoy Metroid Other M. I know people out there like it, and it's gaining some sort of cult following now just because so many people hated it that there has to be a movement of people who like it now. I get that. My point is, Other M, objectively, to me, was not a very good game. And the last thing I would want out of Nintendo is another game like Other M where I feel a sincere sense of disappointment when I start playing it. So, if this is what it takes for that to happen, I'm perfectly fine with that. Unfortunately, being fine with that means having to wait another 3 to 5 years before actually playing this game, and that kills me. A part of me was wondering if Nintendo was working on Metroid Prime 4 and trying to work it into some sort of virtual reality program that they might have been planning for the Switch, and that got scrapped. But at this point, it's all speculation, and we can talk until our heads turn blue. It doesn't really matter what we have to say about it, because fact of the matter is, it's not happening. They canceled whatever they were making, and they moved it over to Retro Studios, which, again, great news. I'm glad Retro's doing it, but holy crap, this is frustrating as hell from somebody who knew Retro should have been working on this from the get-go. And I said it a million times back when it first came out. As soon as we found out Retro was not working on it, I was very skeptical on what the development of this game would be, and I was scared to death on how the game would actually come out. Now that we see it's being canned and going over to Retro, yeah, I could say I told you so, but that doesn't fix anything and just kind of makes the whole situation worse. So, as of right now, Metroid Prime 4 is in development officially by Retro Studios and starting from scratch now. That really sucks for Metroid fans. Anyways, let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments. Do you think it's a good thing Retro's doing this? Are you pissed off at Nintendo for not going with Retro at the beginning? Do you applaud Nintendo for making this move publicly? I'd just be very interested to hear where you guys stand on this entire situation with Metroid Prime 4 and the development hell that's just beginning with it. I could only imagine being an employee at Retro Studios saying, holy crap, now we need to start creating characters from scratch all over again for a game that was in development for at least 3 years already. We're starting over from scratch. That's gonna, from a developer's perspective, that's gonna be a hard pill to swallow. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.